Chapter 1. A hand touched his own. Seth flinched back by instinct. He drew it away from the pain pressing against his raw and broken skin. But there was no pain, just the soft warmth of a human hand in his. Seth opened his eyes and raised his head, the taste of Silver's blood still on his lips. He saw a vision of Pelos fading in front of his eyes, and Seraphina staring at it, watching it go, the only passage to her homeland closing before her. His body felt good and whole, but empty. Any power he had held from the coins was long gone. He was just Seth again, but still much more than the man he'd once been in that debtor's prison. The tormenting memory of burning on the beach was with him every time he blinked. Every time he closed his eyes, he imagined his black and tortured body burning again and again. Looking into the sky at the sun, all he could see was the pain it had caused him, not the changes it brought in the land. Fucking gods. Impersonal bastards. "You live," a familiar dark voice sounded in his mind. Seth reached down to the soft sand and pushed himself to his feet. He looked at his company of odd companions and friends. Giant Wolf, Silver Goddess, and especially Seraphina, looking like she might break down and cry, and not because he'd survived. "Looks that way," he said. "Sorry, Seraphina. It's gone." Seth held up his hands. They were smooth and free of the sun and the moon scars he had carried. Seraphina turned and smiled at him sadly. "I know it had to be done. What would the world do without its Druheim? Get a new one. There is more than the one you know," Silver said. "There are lots of them." Her words, blunt as ever, broke the tension at least. They laughed for what seemed like the first time in days. Seth gazed out across the water. It was a beautiful sight, if he looked past what it had cost him. The sun reflected across the deep, dark water of the sea. Slowly, small wooden boats began to bob up from the water, their tiny, unpainted hulls dripping with water. The humans he had turned back from monsters had gathered to watch as the wooden vessels came floating to shore. The boats were minuscule, and held only one person. Seth saw the first girl he'd brought back. She waded into the gentle waters up to her knees and climbed into the craft. She sat facing the horizon. There were no oars. It was a scene repeated again and again. The boats slowly began to float away from the shore, across the water, towards the horizon, towards whatever lay beyond it. Seth felt he should be going as well.